Okay. So I think this should be working now. Don't know if anyone's going to be around since I've messed this up a couple of times. Let me see if I can check what's happening. On here. Okay, so I am live. That's something. I just need to check. Yeah. All right, so we are live. Okay, we've got a couple of people here. Sorry, guys, if you've been trying to get involved with the live stream. Bit of technical difficulties. I've not done a live stream before, so this is my first time attempting. If you're watching, can you let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me? Because, again, live streaming rookie here. But yeah, I just thought I'd jump on, try a live stream. One, because I've never done one before, but also because I've had the channel for a year now. So that's pretty cool. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here as well. It's cool that there's actually a couple of people here. But yeah, like I say, it's been a year since I started the channel, so I thought I would have a little live stream, see if any of you guys wanted to hang out. So yeah, if anyone has any kind of questions, if you just want to ask anything, go ahead. I don't know if some of you maybe have seen, I just recently did a month of Portuguese, did 30 days of Portuguese. But yeah, I'm back on Spanish now. The focus is Spanish. And it feels good, actually, to be completely honest, to be back focusing on Spanish. Hey, what's up, Joe, Dashan, Alberto? Hola, ¿qué tal? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys would prefer for me to speak English or Spanish. By the way, let me know. Gracias, Alberto. Llevo bastante tiempo practicando. Aún tengo bastantes cosas que mejorar, pero te aprecio. Yeah, so back on Spanish at the moment, and it's good to be focused a bit more on Spanish, because even while I was doing Portuguese, I still had like these little temptations, to do Spanish and stuff. So, hola, D. Yeah, so yeah, at the moment I'm thinking about preparing for the C1 exam. And yes, I'll talk about that in a second. I've got a question. ¿Has vivido en España antes? No, nunca he vivido en España. He estado varias veces en España cuando era niño. Mi familia y yo íbamos casi cada año a España, así que sí, he estado, pero nunca he vivido. No sé, quizás me gustaría probarlo en el futuro. So yeah, no, I haven't lived in Spain before. I've been, but I haven't lived there. What are you watching or listening to most these days? So at the moment, because I'm thinking about going for this C1 exam, I'm listening a lot in general, but I'm trying to focus a little bit more on, I guess you could call it like academic Spanish. Things like Aprendemos Juntos, which is a YouTube channel. It's like TED Talks and things like that. But to be honest, I just try and expose myself to lots of different stuff. I'm still watching a lot of Aquí no hay quien viva. I think that is my favorite Spanish series. So yeah, and I'm trying to get back into reading more as well, because I was reading a lot in Spanish, but I kind of stopped a little bit as I was playing around with other things. And so I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, watching some TV series. But yeah, I haven't really been reading so much recently. So I'd like to get back into that, because yeah, I want to continue to like build my vocabulary and yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. Hola, Shane, me gustan mucho tus videos. Muchas gracias, Charlie. Yo leí Reina Roja de tu consejo. ¿Y te gustó? ¿Qué tal, Reina Roja? A mí me gusta mucho. Es entretenido, pero también es bastante fácil leer, como tiene capítulos cortos. A mí me gusta mucho, sí. Um, Roy Johnson is asking where. Oh, you mean where in Spain? I've traveled to Alicante. I've been to Alicante a lot of times. That's where I spent most of my time in Spain. So when I travel, eventually, when I can travel again, I'd like to explore more and yeah, go to some different places to see the real Spain. Um, how do you discipline yourself with a busy schedule? I must say, Dee, that whilst I do have a relatively busy schedule, I'm quite lucky in that working self-employed. I'm teaching English, so I'm in charge of my calendar more or less, right? So I actually can, work things around if I need to. But a couple of things that have helped me in terms of like actually getting stuff done every day, right? The first is getting stuff done earlier in the morning because for me, I'm not much of a morning person at all. But I find that once I've got something done in the morning, I feel like I've got a bit of momentum, right? I can carry on going from there. So try and get up and do something in the morning. And I think organizing, right? I'm starting to try and organize my days, right? Okay, so I might say I have 2 hours free. I don't just want to say, right, I've got 2 hours free. I'm trying to plan like in little half an hour blocks how I'm going to spend that time, organize resources, try and make things easier for you, for yourself. But yeah, so that's kind of how I maintain discipline, I suppose. I think as well, I do stuff that I enjoy. So it's not so hard for me to continue to practice Spanish and things like that because I'm doing stuff that I enjoy. So tienes una rutina for Spanish, lo estudias por las noches, after work, before work. I study all day. Yeah, whenever I can, to be honest. Yo estudio todo el día. Sí, cuando tenga tiempo. Yeah, I study whenever, really. I think that the mornings have been good for me to make sure I get at least half an hour. I usually try and get an hour in the morning, but I usually, try and do a little bit. And so, um, but because my Spanish level is improving, I find that I can enjoy Spanish content with less effort, with less energy. So I can watch stuff in the evening, even after work. I'm a little bit tired, stuff like that. So for me, I try and fit it in. I try and fit Spanish in, wherever I can in my day. So yeah, I try and put it in wherever. Cool. I'm going to Spain on Friday, so I'm going to pick up a few Spanish books there. Awesome. Let me know which books you grab, and if you have any recommendations, please let me know because yeah, I'm always looking for new books. Tom Brumfield, what's the best way to retain vocab/grammar structures? This is a tough one. I mean, what I've been doing is just immersing pretty much. I do sometimes write words down and add them to an Anki deck if they seem interesting and or relevant to me. But to be completely honest, I'm so inconsistent with my Anki that I don't know how much of an effect I can say that really has had. So I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question totally because I haven't played around so much with like a lot of different methods. I've just found that immersing and filling my days with as much Spanish as possible has been enough for me. Now that I'm thinking about doing this C1 exam, however, I am thinking about being a lot more focused, being consistent with Anki, making a separate Anki deck for new words that I actively want to include in my vocabulary. But to be honest, my experience has been that immersion by itself has been good enough for the most part. The stuff that's important repeats, and the stuff that doesn't really matter doesn't, and you kind of go from there. So reading, I think, was the best in terms of, if I looked at reading versus series versus podcasts, I pick up a lot more words reading because I think that when I can see a word and hear it at the same time, then that's good for me. So yeah. Josh Simmons, are your friends and or family curious about your language learning journeys? Have they been inspired to try out learning a language? Um, my family, I would say my family have been supportive. I don't know how curious they've been. I think they find it interesting in general, that I've chosen to learn a language. I think my mum finds it funny because, like I say, we used to go on holiday to Spain almost every year, and I never expressed any interest in learning Spanish as a kid when I was actually going to Spain. And now that I haven't actually been to Spain in probably nearly 10 years, maybe more. Now I'm learning Spanish, so they're interested in it, and that they ask me about my journey, how's the language learning going, but I don't think any of my family have made a conscious effort to try and learn a language because I'm learning. So yeah, they're interested in general, and they're supportive, which is really cool. But yeah, they're not necessarily starting languages because of me. So yeah, me gusta cómo la escritura de Reina Roja es en tiempo presente. Gracias, un autor. Sí. Yeah, yeah, the way you get that a lot with Spanish. Yeah, where a lot of things are being written in the present tense, and so it can be a lot easier to understand. So yeah. ¿Dónde puedes hacer el examen de C1 en Inglaterra? Hay varios sitios, depende de cuánta gente ya se han inscrito, ¿no? Ahora creo que tendría que irme a Londres para hacer el examen, pero hay varios sitios en Inglaterra en los que puedes hacer el examen. Así que cuando estoy acercando el tiempo un poquito más, voy a decidir cuál lugar. But yeah, so there are various places in the UK that you can take the Delhi test, which is the one that I'm going to go for. There's one in London, but there's other places all around the country. So I haven't officially signed up yet. I'm going to wait a little bit longer. As I get closer to the time, I'll see what's about. Um, By the way, the Cervantes Institute has really good videos of people taking the C1 test. Yeah, I've seen some of those. I've saved most of them, I think. I've saved them so that I can watch them practice. So, aside from like just continuing to immerse, what I'm going to be doing is basically getting a tutor who has experience with those exams, and I'm going to be going through the different practice elements, doing practice tests basically with a professional tutor who can help me out. So yeah, I'm going to be watching lots of those videos and doing lots of mock exams and all that kind of stuff. Fun. Um, why have you decided to do the C1 exams? Where do you live in England? Okay, the second part's easy. I live in Southampton, which is in the south of England. I grew up not here, but close-ish by, still in the south. The reason that I've decided I want to do the C1 exam, um, there's a couple of reasons. The first is just kind of to have something that says like, I've achieved something in Spanish. I know that's super arbitrary, but I feel like, I've put a lot of time in and effort, and I'd like to have something, that's officially recognized that says, yeah, you can at least speak Spanish to X level. Um, Also, more importantly, I don't know, what I'm going to want to do in the future in terms of work and living and things like that. I might want to try living in Spain or working in Spain and things, and so having the C1 exam would help in that situation. Also, certainly not now, but maybe in the future, in a few years, I might like to teach Spanish in some kind of way, at least at a basic level. And so again, having the C1 exam helps with that. But what I've realized is that it's basically it's an excuse for me to focus in more on my Spanish, because like I said, up until now, I've been, just very I've been active in the way that I engage with the content, but I'm not actively pulling out words and structures and stuff. So I'm just letting it happen, letting it wash over me, and whatever sticks, sticks, which has been fine, but it's also somewhat limiting, right? So I think now, having specific things to focus on, knowing that I need to not only understand advanced vocabulary, but be able to actively put it into different situations, know when different words are appropriate and not, and different things. It's giving me an opportunity to work on my Spanish in a more refined way. So I think that uh, another thing is that it's going to stop me from hitting another plateau, right? It's giving me reasons to keep pushing and keep learning and actively learning. So, yeah, that's why I'm thinking about the C1 exam at the moment. Oh, someone asked if I play the saxophone. Tocas el saxofón? No, por desgracia, no puedo tocarlo muy bien. Puedo hacer sonidos, pero es que lo compré hace tiempo y en ese entonces vivía solo, así que estaba bien practicar y hacer mierda de sonidos y todo eso, tocar mal. Pero ahora, como vivo cerca con más gente y con mi novia, me da un poco vergüenza practicar. Está en mi lista para el año que viene. Voy a centrarme más en la música un poquito. Sí, eso. Sí, ahora, ahora no me dejan. Es que suena un poco horrible, así que, bueno, sí, en el año que viene. See the saxophone. Next year, I'm not abandoning languages, but I'm definitely going to be focusing a bit more on music next year because it's something I like and I do sometimes, but I haven't spent a lot of dedicated time to. So, um, can you, only if you want, give some information about you, which city you're from, you always live there, who you live with? We would like to know you. Okay, so yeah, I can talk about me a little bit. So I live in Southampton, which is a city on the south coast of the UK. I grew up in a small town in also in the south coast. It's about 45 minutes drive from where I live now. I grew up in a small town called Gosport. Um, when I grew up there, I didn't like it. When I was younger, I didn't like it. It was very small town. Like there's one road in and one road out. I felt like a bit I felt a bit trapped or whatever, you know. I think now as I'm a bit older, I think that, you know, I was just kind of young or whatever. It's a nice place, but when I was growing up, I didn't like it. So I actually decided to move to the north of the UK in Leeds for a few years. So I lived in the north of England for 6 years, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, so now I currently live in Southampton. I live with my girlfriend, Olivia, who is a mortgage advisor. She also is learning a bit of Spanish. She likes watching some Spanish stuff with me as well, so that's quite cool. And yeah, we met salsa dancing because I also do salsa. I dance and teach salsa, but currently with all the nonsense that's going on, yeah, I haven't been able to do that for a while. But yeah, we met dancing salsa and we've been together for a few years now, and we live together in Southampton. So yeah, that's a bit about me. We live in a little flat, one bedroom flat, but it's a nice place. So I'm happy. Yeah. Any recommendations on where to find good Spanish series besides Netflix? Yes. There is a website called RTVE. I think it's rtve.es, but they have something. It's basically like Spain's BBC, and they have like their version of like the BBC iPlayer or whatever. So if you Google RTVE Play, there is tons of free content on there. Everything from like reality TV, like Master Chef or like other reality TV shows, to like full on series like El Ministerio del Tiempo. I've been watching that, the Ministry of Time or whatever. That's an awesome series. They've got so much on there. They had the stuff from the Olympics. They were live streaming lots of the Olympics on there. You don't need to be in Spain to access it. I live in England. I wasn't using a VPN, and it allows me to watch all of it. So, yeah, RTVE. Just Google that, and you'll find it. That's an awesome resource. Aside from Netflix, they've got movies, they've got series. Yeah, it's awesome. So check that out. Thank you, by the way, for everyone that's here. I genuinely did not expect anyone to come. I said to my girlfriend I'll probably be here for like 5 minutes because no one would show up. So thank you, and thank you for everyone sending questions. Let's carry on. Um, okay, so where did we get to? Do you find any crossover between Portuguese and Spanish, and did it help you learning one before the other? Yeah, so thanks, Marky, for the question. A huge amount of crossover. I think it's something like 87% of the vocabulary is the same. So there's, yeah, huge amount of crossover. I was in an infinitely better place for learning Portuguese from having learned Spanish beforehand. Um, it's not all good though, right? In some ways it helps, in other ways it hurts, because I did find that the more I got into my Portuguese, the more I was starting to get overconfident about how many words I could use and I could guess from Spanish and all this different stuff. And I found myself in this weird place where I just felt like really insecure about whether I had heard this word in Portuguese and I could use it and it was a Portuguese word, or whether it was a Spanish word and I was just assuming that I could use it. Because I mean, it's not usually a problem to use Spanish words if you're speaking to someone that speaks Portuguese, but I'm not trying to speak Portuñol, right? I don't want to speak bad Portuguese. I'm trying to improve. So, anyway, there's a lot of crossover. I think it helps more than it hurts, but it can get confusing where you start to have words that have the same stem, the same root, but the endings are a little bit different, and so it can get a bit messy. But yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting, and I love both languages. Really cool. Um, I just watched the Sid series on Amazon Prime. Oh, I've got this on my list to watch as well. Yeah, I'm hoping to watch that maybe next week if I have some time. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to watching it. Because I don't know much about the story as well. El Cid, the person. I know it's famous, and I know roughly who he is, but I don't really know much about it. So I'm hoping I can find a bit more out about it as well. Christ. Okay. Alex, hey, good job with your channel and podcast. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, yeah. If any of you guys are learning English, I have a podcast. It's called Unlocking British English. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on iTunes, all the main podcast providers. And yeah, I speak kind of normal English, but I have transcripts for every episode, so you can look up the words and different stuff, talk about a range of different topics. So if you're interested, you can go check that out. Thank you, Alex. So the question: I am curious about what foreign language you learned at school before your interest in Spanish. So I learned French, or I studied French in school. I didn't learn French. Um, to be completely honest, I didn't learn any French in school. I don't know how much I can blame school and the way that it's taught in school, because I know that as a younger teenager, I had no interest in school really in general. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't focus, and I really remember I really remember not liking my French teacher. We had, she wasn't very nice to me. I wasn't very nice to her. We had a bad relationship. So I think that maybe I could have learned some French if I had a better mindset as a youngin. But yeah, no, I studied French. Um, I don't know if I'm planning to learn French again or try and learn French again in the future. Maybe we'll see. But yeah. Okay, so puedes diferenciar entre castellano, colombiano, argentino al oírlo. Sí, más o menos. Yo diría que puedo notar que alguien no es de España, porque como me he centrado tanto en el español de España, eh, noto los sonidos y todo eso, pero a veces no puedo exactamente distinguir entre Colombia o Venezuela o México, por ejemplo. A veces con un acento como el argentino es más fuerte y se nota más en general, pero sí, yo diría que puedo notar que alguien no viene de España. Pero fuera de eso, se vuelve un poco más difícil, yo diría. Am, Diego, yeah, you man. Diego here in the chat. Diego is who I do my language exchange with in Portuguese. He's helped me so much with Portuguese. Thank you so much, man. They have a great channel, him and his partner Cynthia. It's called Na Vibe, where they talk about living in England, living in London, these different experiences and stuff. So you can go check that out if you're interested. Lee, what's up, man? Lee, thank you for the constant support. I see your comments on so many of the videos. I appreciate you, man. So thanks for stopping in. Where did I get up to? Oh my gosh, I'd love to learn salsa. My husband's not interested. That's a shame. But here's the thing: you don't have to go with your partner. Usually what happens in salsa classes is you're dancing partners, but usually people rotate, so you switch partners every couple of minutes or whatever. So lots of people. In fact, I would say at the salsa club where I go, the vast majority of people they go without a partner, right? They're not going with their girlfriend or husband, whatever. They go just by themselves, and they just dance with people when they get there. The salsa community is so welcoming. It's so awesome. I would really, really advise trying it if you have an opportunity, because it's so cool. It's really cool. I love it. I fell in love instantly. Um, ¿Ves MasterChef España? Sí, me encanta. Es que como la primera temporada estaban Emilio y Paloma de Aquí no hay quien viva, y la hija de Vicenta. Es que, bueno, no podía evitarlo. Y ahora estoy enganchado. Me encanta. Es genial. Sí. Masterchef en español es increíble. Y el caso es que mi vocabulario alrededor de la cocina y cosas así es fatal. Y me di cuenta de que cuando vaya cuando vaya a España, voy a querer ir a restaurantes, probar, degustar cosas, y necesito el vocabulario para hacerlo, así que eso. Yeah, I watch MasterChef in Spanish and it's awesome. I love it. Josh, what are your personal favorite techniques to teach English? Do you try and integrate comprehensible input methods? I would say that I guess sort of, but not directly. I mean, like for example, I don't teach my classes like Pablo teaches in his Dreaming Spanish videos or something like that. I focus on conversations. Basically, my English classes are sort of modeled on my experience with learning Spanish and Portuguese, and what has and hasn't worked for me, and then adjusting based on different students and things. And so, what I try and do is basically give people the opportunity to talk about a wider variety of topics. I prepare lots of questions about different topics, whether it be something simple like food or pets or whatever, or something like creativity or politics, or depending on the interest of the student. And then I ask questions about those things, and if the question is a little bit too complicated for that student, I try and find a way to make it simpler. I can suggest bits of vocabulary and different things like that, because I think that one of the skills that is important to learn as well and develop when you're speaking a language is the ability to work around a lack of vocabulary. So if you don't know a word, sure, it's great to be able to learn that word, but you're not always going to be able to do that in a given situation, right? So maybe you're talking to someone and you need to say something, but you don't have that word. You need to have the confidence to work around it and find a different way to explain what it is that you're saying. And so I try and work on that as well by asking people these different questions about these different topics. They don't necessarily have all of the vocabulary that they need or they would want for that, but we find ways to work around it. And then once I start to understand, oh, you mean this, and then I give them the word, and then we add the vocabulary to their to their collection, whatever. So yeah, I try and ask a lot of questions, give them the opportunity to speak a lot. But I'm still learning. I'm certainly not an expert on teaching English, and so yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. They're based on conversations and communication, giving people those opportunities to try and talk about things that they wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to talk about all the time, and thus strengthen their ability to communicate with different structures and all this different kind of stuff. So yeah. Um, Tom, what do you find most frustrating about your current level of Spanish? I Okay, I don't know if I'm going to express this correctly. I hope this doesn't come off wrong, like arrogant. I'm finding that the most frustrating thing for me at the moment is that I feel like in my head it's all there, and I want to speak fast and like like a Spanish person does, but the muscle memory, right, the physical ability to speak at pace isn't quite there. And so I'm actually finding that I'm starting to trip over myself a little bit, or I was starting to trip over myself a little bit when I was speaking. So I'm having to actively think about being more patient when I'm speaking, taking my time, because I feel maybe more confident than I should be in given my current level or whatever. Um and and then I guess in terms of like understanding, I suppose it's the things that I'm trying to understand now, they're smaller nuances and things like that, and it's little fiddly grammar points, and it's not always consistent between different areas, different people, all different kind of stuff like that. And so um, yeah, I mean, I'm wrestling now at the moment with whether I should be trying to actively learn a little bit more of the more advanced grammar, because I'm at a point now where I have a decent foundation in the language. But yeah, so those things, I guess, try not to trip over my own tongue when I'm speaking. Try not to speak faster than I actually can because I'm getting cocky in my head or whatever. And then the fiddly little, use of the subjunctive here and there, and little few little things, and where it's like, it's annoying having to try to figure it out, because for day-to-day usage it doesn't matter, but if I want to do the C1 exam, there's no excuse for these little mistakes. So, B1, B2, okay, a couple of mistakes, fine. C1, there's no excuse for these little, misuses of the subjunctive and things like that. So I'm trying to crack down on things like that a bit more. um Charlie asks, any chance of picking up Catalan? There is a chance of me picking up Catalan, Charlie. I'm certainly interested in at least learning a little bit, because I'm conscious of the fact that when I go to Spain, I'm going to want to travel to Catalonia. And I don't want to be that guy just walking around that only knows Spanish. I know it's not the worst thing in the world, but I want to at least be able to, respect the fact that they have a different language that is spoken there, and they have, differences in cultures and things like that. The issue, however, is that I actually think I'm more interested in Basque than I am in Catalan, both as a language and as a culture. I'm of course super interested in going to Barcelona and other places in Catalonia, but I'm fascinated by the Basque country. Well, by the north of Spain in general. I think, like, as an English person, the fact that it's more green and it rains more in the north of Spain, it suits me better. Um, but there's so much about the north of England, sorry, the north of Spain, that's fascinating to me, and the Basque country especially, and the Basque language, just how it's so different and everything like that. So I think I will learn a bit of Catalan, but I think that I would be more likely to learn more Basque, and I would spend more time on Basque because it's a lot more complicated. So yes, I will do some Catalan in the future. Not sure when and how. Um, by the way, let me know. Let me guys know. Sorry, let me know what you guys think about the Portuguese video that I did, the 30-day challenge. Would you guys be interested in seeing something like that in, like, another language, if I did 30 days of Catalan, or is that stuff not really to your interest? I also don't want to go like too, clickbaity or whatever. So, I did that video and that challenge because I wanted to and it was fun, but I'd also be up for doing other stuff like that. Um, yeah, Unlocking British English is the best thing. Thank you, Diego. I love you, girl. You ever try the shadowing technique? I have kind of tried a little bit of shadowing, but not properly. I Shadowing's one of those things that I've kind of had in the back of my mind. I've got videos saved about it and little things like that, but I haven't got around to actually doing anything about it. So yeah, I haven't really spent a good amount of time doing shadowing. I thought about it a little bit because I remember hearing Matt versus Japan talk about this idea of having a language parent, right? You pick like one or two people that you listen to a lot, like you would growing up, listen to your parents a lot. But I never ended up finding anyone that I thought, like, okay, this is the exact person I want to speak exactly like this. So I watch a lot of one particular channel, Drafteados. They talk about the NBA, and that's two guys just chatting. And I've watched them like every day for months, 7, 8 months, maybe even at this point. And so maybe I've got a bit of that effect from them. But the specific shadowing, the actual proper technique, I haven't done properly, but I'm interested in it. Maybe you've reminded me. I might try and get into it again. Have you tried it? Have any of you guys tried it? I am Basque. Ah, Kaishan. Euskera is very difficult. Yeah, I've seen and heard. It looks super complicated. Euskera is mostly maths. Yeah, do you know that maths was one of the only subjects that I was naturally good at in school, so, hey, maybe that will help me. Um, yeah, so I'm skipping about a bit here, sorry, guys. Jaime Altozano es muy top. Este tío es increíble. Sí. If you were to start learning Spanish from scratch again, what would you do different and why? Well, I'd spend less time on Duolingo because at the beginning I pretty much only knew that Duolingo existed, and so I just kind of basically I just was doing loads and loads of Duolingo. I even signed up to Duolingo Plus just so I could skip the ads and do more exercises and things. Mostly just because I didn't know any better. I just didn't know that there was so much content and stuff out there. So I would definitely I don't know if I would skip Duolingo completely. I am a bit of a Duolingo hater. I think it's mostly garbage, but I do think the one thing it's very good at is getting you in and getting you started. And I don't know if I would actually be here studying Spanish if it wasn't for Duolingo. So I would still start with Duolingo, but I would probably jump off of Duolingo fairly quickly. I guess it would just be getting into comprehensible input and listening more, and just listening more in general. Because as much as I talk about comprehensible input and I love comprehensible input, I'm also a big proponent of incomprehensible input or just like stuff that's way above your level in terms of not necessarily way above your level, but whenever I hear people talk about like the percentages in which of what you should understand and things like that when you're listening to comprehensible input, if you're reading a book, you should understand 99% of the vocabulary. If I stuck to something like that, I would never read anything. There's nothing that would ever grab my attention. I've like as much as I have been, listening to comprehensible input, I've also spent a lot of time listening to what other people would call incomprehensible input. And I think it helps because I think that, that's how people talk at the end of the day. That's the speed they talk, that's the volume that they speak at, those are the sounds they drop. And you do have to get used to that at some point. So I do think that I think that I would just start listening more and listening sooner because it took me a few months. Even I started doing italki classes and I still wasn't like super big on the listening. So I would listen a lot more. Um I think that's it, to be completely honest. I would just listen more and do that from an earlier stage. And I just wouldn't worry about the silly little details, percentages of comprehension and this, that, and the other. If it's interesting and you enjoy it, watch it. That's it. Just do the work. So yeah, I wouldn't change so much. Yeah. Where did we get to with the questions? Are you still taking regular italki lessons for Spanish? Um, I'm taking semi-regular classes because at the moment I'm taking classes with a professional tutor. They're a little bit more expensive, and I don't feel like I need to do as many all the time. So at the moment, I'm doing every other week. So I have a class every other week, but I have a language exchange in Spanish every week. So I have at least one opportunity to speak Spanish every week. But I am actually currently looking at ways I can increase that because I need to get back on speaking Spanish more. The tutor that I had on italki that I got on really, really well with, he's not on italki anymore. He's too busy with other stuff. So I found a couple of people that I've got on well, but it's either been like difficult to find times or other things have got in the way. So I'm still looking for a couple of other opportunities to practice Spanish and European Spanish specifically, and speak Spanish. So yeah, semi-regular classes, I would say, on italki. Alyssa, thank you for being an inspiration in my Spanish learning journey. May God bless you. Oh, thank you very much. That's very. It's yeah, it's kind of cool to think that there are other people that will be inspired by watching my videos. So that's really awesome. I'm glad you guys, are enjoying them and yeah, that's what they're here for. So yeah, I'm gonna try and make more videos as well of me speaking Spanish, because I know that I haven't had as many videos of me speaking Spanish recently. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing that as well. I've got some more interviews lined up. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be sitting down with Vicente from Spanish with Vicente, not Spanish with Vicente. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll get that. So I'm really excited for that. One, because his channel's so cool and I've watched a lot of his videos and I really enjoy them, but also because he has experience with the exams and stuff like that. And because I'm in that headspace at the moment, I'm really interested to talk to him, not just about that, but about those kind of things, what he thinks about language exams and his advice and stuff. And so, yeah. And I'm also going to be sitting down with Lucia from RKL, which is a channel I can't pronounce properly, but she has a really cool channel as well. And she has a really cool way of communicating stuff about like the colloquialisms and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to those two collaborations. Yeah, who would you guys like me to collaborate with? I feel like I'm on a bit of a streak still with people actually accepting to come on. I still have no idea how I managed to get Español con Juan to say yes to an interview, and I still have no idea why Linguriosa was so happy to come on and do an interview with me. But it seems to be working. So if you guys have some people you would like me to chat to, some people you'd like to see me do collaborations with, or maybe other Spanish learners, that's something else I'd like to do more of. I know I did the video with El Gringo, Sam, and I did a video with Mike Ben as well. So yeah, that was cool. So yeah, if you have suggestions of people you would like to see me collaborate with, then by all means let me know. Okay, have you ever? Oh, sorry. Have you read any decent Spanish non-fiction books? Yes, actually, I read one book that was it was kind of like introduction to psychology, something like that. That wasn't the name of the book. Actually, I think it's under the table. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to be rude, but I'll look it up here. Okay, I can't see it, but I don't want to sit under there for ages. Yeah, it was something like a beginner's guide to psychology or something like. But it was the title was in Spanish. Anyway, I'm interested in psychology and philosophy and stuff like that. I'm not an academic, I'm not a proper academic, just someone that's curious about these things. But so because I've read about these kind of topics in English, I thought it would be interesting to do in Spanish. I did enjoy reading nonfiction in Spanish. I also read a book about the life of Kobe Bryant because I'm huge fan Kobe Bryant. And yeah, so I found that nonfiction was good, but it wasn't as easy to like continue. Like I felt like, for example, if I'm reading a nonfiction book, if it's an interesting book, then I'm just reading it or listening to it whenever I can. But with the nonfiction, even though I was interested in both these books and they were good books, I was kind of a bit like I was having to make myself get through it at points a little bit. But I do think it's good because you get different types of vocabulary sometimes, different technical things. And I think in some cases it might even be easier to understand because if you have knowledge of of that subject, you can infer a lot of meanings and things like that. So yeah, yeah, I've read a couple of nonfiction books, but not many, only two, maybe three. Whereas I've read, I think, 16 full novels or 18 full novels or something in Spanish now. So yeah. Oh wow, I got a donation. That's crazy. Thank you very much, Diego. Yeah, you guys are awesome. This is so cool. There's still people here. I've been rambling about whatever for like 45 minutes nearly, and you guys are still here. This is awesome. Thank you. Okay. ¿Has leído la trilogía del Baztán? Tratan de asesinatos en el País Vasco. Ah, oh, I think I know. Creo que sé de qué hablas, pero no me acuerdo del nombre. Creo, si te sigo, creo que tengo el audiolibro, pero todavía no he leído. Creo que el problema es que no quería desarrollar un entendimiento, no sé, malo, por así decirlo, de los acontecimientos con ETA, por ejemplo, la historia del País Vasco. No quería tener mi introducción a través de la ficción. Quería buscar más información, más hechos, supongo, en general. Así que, yeah, I would like to read about the the País Vasco, the Basque country in English. But I think I was looking for more non-fiction. I wanted to learn more like of the history. Um, No tiene que ver con ETA. Ah, okay. So in fact, no, I'm not thinking of the same book then. It's yeah, the name rang a bell. So no, I don't think I have heard of that trilogy. So I will look that up once we finish this live stream. I will look that up. Cool. Thank you very much. Um, Salo from Use Your Spanish. Yeah, Use Your Spanish is a cool channel. That would be a cool one. I could check that out. Maybe an interview with Lightspeed Spanish. Ah, okay, yeah, I'd forgotten about those guys. They have a podcast, right? One guy, the English guy, I think he's from Newcastle or something, and his Spanish wife. Yeah, that might be interesting. Excuse me, guys, one second. Okay. Um, yeah, any advice for using or not using subtitles? Oof, this is difficult again. I do really think that subtitles they're a double-edged sword because I think in the beginning, when you start to expose yourself to native content, a lot of the times, because they speak so fast, or maybe they're not speaking so clearly, like in a YouTube video or whatever. Sometimes it's that you just don't hear the words, and if you put the subtitles on, sometimes you realize, oh, actually, I do know what they're saying. I just didn't hear what they actually said. So I don't agree with people that say that you shouldn't ever use subtitles because you're just always going to rely on them and you'll never develop the listening element. But I do agree that there comes a point where they do become a bit of a crutch, and it's almost like you feel like you can't watch something without them. So I guess my answer would be maybe try and actively do both. Maybe try and find stuff that has subtitles, but then actively watch stuff without subtitles. Give yourself a bit of that exposure, because it's important to expose yourself to to real spoken Spanish without subtitles, because that's what real life is going to be like. There's not going to be subtitles in the streets. So yeah, I guess a bit of both. For me, I was watching everything with subtitles, and then there came a point. I did the 40-hour language learning challenge. I don't know if you guys know of the channel Language Come Up, a guy called Mark. He started this challenge to do 40 hours of studying a language in a week, as if you were doing like a work week, but of studying. I did that, and I used that week as an opportunity to just ditch the subtitles. And because I was starting a new series, I started watching Grand Hotel at that time. So I did that without subtitles, and it was difficult at the beginning, especially I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays Berlin in La Casa de Papel. He speaks like it's not always very clear. He's got quite a deep voice, and I really struggled to understand him for like probably at least like the first season, or the first half of the first season. But you really do get used to it, and I think so. Subtitles are fine, but actively expose yourself to stuff without subtitles, because you will get used to the sounds. And I think it's important to remember that understanding a language is not just about hearing, identifying, and analyzing every word. A lot of your understanding, both in your native language and speaking a foreign language, is going to be inferred, right? You infer the meaning. Imagine, like, some of you might have had the experience of, like, someone says something to you, and you think you don't hear them. You say, what? But then a couple of seconds later, it comes to you. You haven't reheard the sounds, right? But it's like, based on what you did hear, your brain infers the rest of the meaning. And so I think that that's a big part of it as well, is you have to give yourself a chance to to infer the meaning and stuff like that. So try and expose yourself to stuff without subtitles. um an interview with Justin Armstrong would be interesting. He's a Canadian learning French. Ah, yeah, I know of Justin. Because yeah, I did an interview with Word of Shane when I first started my YouTube channel, and he did an interview on there as well. I've seen him. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, because he seems to think about his process a lot. Interesting guy. Can you please do an interview with Andrea from Spanish Land? I can certainly try. I can't guarantee she'll say yes, but I can try. Okay, John. I find it very difficult to acquire enough vocabulary to get from B1 to B2. Do you use spaced repetition systems? Would you say you have a better than average memory? Hmm. Um, so I do technically use spaced repetition. I have Anki. I haven't always been very consistent with it. I'm a bit better now than I was, but I haven't always been very consistent with it. Um, do I have a better memory than average? Maybe a little bit. I mean, I want to say no. I want to say no, but I think maybe that's just an ego thing because it's like a because if I have a better memory, then that takes away the hard work or some stupidity like that. But I think I seem to have a relatively decent short-term memory, at least. I don't know if that's something that's natural or if it's something that I've developed, sorry, from doing lots of different stuff. I taught myself the piano, I've learned salsa dancing, done different kind of aerial acrobatics, different stuff. I don't know whether I've had to learn lots of different things and that's improved my memory of sequences and different things. So maybe my memory is a little bit better than average, but I don't think I have like some kind of crazy good memory. Certainly not like so far above average. It's notable, but it's not crazy good. At least from my understanding, I've never had it tested or anything. So yeah, again, for me, it was just exposure. I think it's the regularity, it's the consistency. It's not you know it's the every day you start to see these words over and over and over and over again, and it comes a point you just can't not recognize them. And I think that comes, I think that the spaced repetition is support, right? That is on top of the immersion. It solidifies what you get exposed to in your emotion, in your immersion. So yeah. um Hablas muy bien, pero diciéndolo honesto, podrías mejorar tu acento. Y mucho, sí, claro. Yo nunca he dicho que tengo el mejor acento. Intento, bueno, es eso, intento. No quiero solo hablar español como en inglés, ¿no? Yo soy Shane, yo hablo español. Creo que hablo un poco mejor que eso, pero claro, tampoco soy nativo. El caso es que para mí lo importante es comunicarme, que tú me entiendes. Eso es lo más importante para mí. Y así que quiero y pienso mejorar mi acento, pero yo creo que mi uso del idioma es lo más importante. El vocabulario, las estructuras. Todavía no me salen los doble R's. Suena fatal. Sí. Y sí, puedo mejorar mi acento mucho y está en la lista, pero bueno. Ok. Ah, Creo que tienes una pronunciación. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Alberto. Grand Hotel equals Downton Abbey. Yeah. Um, Honestly, I wouldn't. I don't think I would watch Grand Hotel again. Sorry if you guys can hear that plane. By the way, I live near a flight path, directly under a flight path. Yeah, sorry, Grand Hotel is something like I enjoyed it enough while I was watching it. It was interesting enough, but I wouldn't watch it again. And it's the kind of thing that I wouldn't watch in English. I think that when you're learning a language, or for me at least, when I was learning Spanish, or yeah, when I was earlier in the journey of learning Spanish, everything was interesting, everything was fascinating. So it didn't really matter that it wasn't the best show ever. It was interesting. So yeah. Um, so you could collab with Laura from Spanish After Hours. She's great. Spanish After Hours. That rings a bell. I'm not sure if I'm super aware of her, so I'll go check that out as well. Thank you for the recommendation. Shane, what is your favorite food, favorite band, and favorite movie? Christ, that's a difficult one. Okay, so favorite food is difficult. I think if I was talking like styles of food or whatever, I might go Spanish food. It might sound cliche, but I really like Spanish food. Um, the thing is, because I lived alone for quite a few years, I was never bothered about like cooking interesting stuff. So I spent a lot of time just eating to survive, right? I would just like I would just eat to make sure that I had enough energy to get through the day. Meaning that I never really experimented with like so much stuff. Now that I live with my girlfriend, she's quite a good cook and she likes experimenting and stuff. And I live in a nicer flat now, so I actually like cooking because we have more space and different stuff. I think I'm exploring more. So I think I still have a lot of the world of food to explore in general. I'm probably a little bit yeah, I'm not so traveled, maybe. Obviously we have, all kinds of different takeaways and restaurants and stuff. I've tried lots of different types of food, but yeah, Spanish is my go-to style. But yeah, I eat a lot of stuff because I'm still exploring, still learning. Favorite band is absolutely impossible. I have all kinds of different types of music on my iTunes. I have everywhere from like early jazz to Disney soundtracks to hardcore hip hop. Well, maybe not hardcore hip hop. My main styles are jazz, uh, old school hip hop, or stump things that have the feel of old school hip hop, and the kind of neo soul, that kind of thing. A big Robert Glasper fan, huge Robert Glasper fan. Christian Scott. They're kind of like, yeah, mod I don't want to say modern jazz because I feel like people have an idea of what modern jazz is that's very different to what I mean when I say that. But I just mean something that would be called jazz that's been made recently. It's really cool how people are blending these kind of hip hop influences with the like jazz education and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I like a lot of rap music. Big Nas fan. I recently started listening to King's Disease 2, which I think is an absolutely incredible tape. One of the few albums that I've listened to like the whole way through, rap albums that recently. Big Frank Sinatra fan. I love a good crooner as well. I've got a whole playlist of like Frank and Dean and Sammy and the Rat Pack and all that stuff. Especially when I'm cooking. I also like a lot of Latin music, like salsa music. I like a lot of bachata music as well. I don't actually like bachata dancing so much, but I like the music. Yes, that's difficult. And favorite movie, I guess that's difficult as well. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. Um, You Got Served and Coach Carter were two films growing up that I watched a lot. Um, if we're talking like younger, then my favorite Disney film is the Goofy movie because it's the best Disney film. Um, and maybe Goodfellas if I'm thinking about films that I've enjoyed as an adult. That's difficult. It depends on the day, but yeah. So yeah, that's not a very clear answer to anything you asked, but hopefully that's something like an answer. Am, en castellano, ¿qué te gusta escuchar de música? La verdad es que no escucho tanta música en español. Escucho la música de salsa, y escucho mucho KCO, que me encanta, es increíble. Pero el caso es que la música yo no he usado mucho la música para aprender y no forma muy gran parte. La música española o latina no forma muy gran parte de la música que escucho como cada día. Así que no mucho. ¿Qué piensas de Rosalía? Eh, Está bien, no está mal, pero no la escucho mucho, la verdad. Um, sí. Yeah, in terms of music in Spanish, like I say, I listen to some Spanish music. I like salsa music. I really like KCO. KCO is incredible. And Bnet or Bennett. If you like rap battles, Bennett or Bnet, however you want to pronounce it, from Spain is unbelievable. And what's even better is there's loads of people that have made YouTube videos where they like analyze all of his lyrics. So you can find like videos of freestyle rap with subtitles and color coded so you can see all the rhymes. The guy's insane. It's nuts. But yeah, so I would say I don't necessarily listen to a ton of Latin American music, but yeah, some. Favorite show from Latin America? Oh, I haven't watched so many. I've watched La Casa de las Flores, or some of it. I don't think I've watched all of it, which was interesting at first, and then I found like it got kind of weird. I don't know if anyone else feels like that. I watched a little bit of a show called Casi Feliz, which is from Argentina. Um, and yeah, off the top of my head, they're the only two that I can really think of right now. Like I've said before, I have absolutely nothing against any of the other Latin American countries, the style of Spanish, the content, or anything like that. But I found it so beneficial for me to focus on European Spanish, and I've just found that like the more I've watched, the deeper I've got into the culture, the more I've been curious about. I'm not just watching shows; I'm watching documentaries about the history. I'm watching MasterChef. I'm watching all this, all this different stuff. So I still haven't exposed myself to a ton of Latin American shows. I've watched a good amount of like TED talks from Latin American speakers and things like that. Because if you watch TED in Spanish, it's not always people from Spain, obviously. Yeah, so I hope you do a few videos of your progress with the saxophone. That's good to know. I am 100% hoping to make other videos as well. I don't want to stop making language learning videos, but I'm also a bit um I don't want to make myself just the language guy, because I'm not that. Like, I spend a lot of my time doing languages, and so it's fine that my channel represents that. But I do a lot of other stuff, and I'm really interested in learning and development in general. So, language is one thing, music is another. There'll be other skills and different stuff that I'd like to do as well, but yeah, my journey with music specifically, I would like to document, because I also need to improve on the piano. I can play the piano well enough for me, but I can't play the piano well enough, to do the things that I want to do. I would like to be able to make some music and stuff, right? And I can do that now, literally, but it's all I make. I make beats that sound, they're loops, right? That's not, you know. I need to progress more and learn more and spend more time, dissecting other music and different stuff. But yeah, both the piano and the saxophone hopefully will feature in my channel in the future, next year or at some point. Yeah. So yeah, if you let me know what your thoughts are, though. By the way, if you think that I should make a separate channel for music stuff, then let me know. If you don't want to see music stuff on this channel, if you think it would be better to have just languages, yeah, let me know. Okay, I started to watch La Casa de Flores, but I had to stop because it got too cheesy. Yeah, man, it got weird, right? I don't know what happened with that show, but the first season seemed like genuinely interesting, and like the characters were cool, and then the second season it was like, I don't know, it was just weird. Yeah, it got cheesy. I don't know what happened. Anyway, maybe it gets better again. Someone can let me know. Um Me tengo que ir, guarde directo. Alberto, thank you so much. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros, conmigo. Es un placer tenerte aquí y espero que hayas disfrutado del video y sí, nos vemos. Okay, so play hoops. I didn't realize it was popular in England. Dude, it's not. It sucks. But yeah, I play hoops. I started late because it's not popular in the UK. When you grow up in England, at least as a guy, I don't know if it's different as a girl, you play football because that's what people do. So I played football because everyone plays football. As soon as I was old enough to opt out, I stopped because I don't dislike football. If any of the Americans watching, I'm referring to what you would call soccer, incorrectly refer to as soccer. It's football. Joking. Yeah, so I started basketball. I guess I was like 16 maybe when I started, 15 or 16, because once I stopped playing football, I started skating. Not skateboarding. I had inline skates. So I was a skater for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I was a Vinnie Minton guy, if anyone's into skating here. But yeah, so I started playing basketball when I was like 16, and I got super into it. I even changed colleges to go and play with this coach who was, well, because in the UK there's no basketball. no real like development and stuff. Anyone that's properly, developing players and stuff like that is like super highly sought after. So yeah, anyway, I played basketball. I haven't played for a while, unfortunately, but yeah, that time in my life was huge for me. Yeah, playing basketball and my introduction to the world of the mind of Kobe Bryant changed everything, I think, for me in my life in general. So yeah, we got any other basketball players here? Who do you think is going to win the finals next year? Do you think the Lakers have built an unstoppable team? Maybe the Nets are going to win. Who you got? I'm interested. Um, I for sure don't think the Bucks are going to repeat. Sorry if you're a Bucks fan, but I don't see it. Anyway, so what have we got next? What's the hardest thing you struggle with in Spanish, grammatically speaking? Hmm. I think. Um, well, initially it was the conjugations, right? Because that's new. As an English speaker, the conjugations are just a whole new thing. I've you know, never seen so many conjugations before. So that was weird at first, but I do really think that they're very intuitive. So I did look up, some videos on like how to conjugate the verbs and things like that. There's some of you might know a channel called Spanish with Paul. I don't think he uploads anything anymore, but he's got a few videos and he talks about conjugating verbs in the past tense and things like that. And maybe they helped well, no, they definitely helped a bit, right? But I still think that it's much more the immersion, the repetition, because even with the amount of irregular verbs that Spanish has, even they have patterns. They all do the same thing and stuff. So it's like, yeah, the conjugations were weird at first, but I think that with exposure, I started to get used to those. One thing that's weird sometimes for me is or see my vocabulary of all the grammatical stuff, even in English, is terrible. Maybe the pronouns, or but like the lo, le, la, all this kind of stuff, leismo, loismo, or whatever it is, you know, um, mete, se, la, lo, la, le, blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff. It got a bit much at one point, and I think I think one thing that was confusing for me is that people use those things differently, right? So some people use low and other people use lay, like lo or le, lo le, and different things like that. The reflexive verbs, quedar means something and quedarse means 10 other things. That's a hay movida ahí. Hay lío ahí. Yeah, it's difficult. Muy chungo. Um, yeah, I think those are the difficult or the frustrating things, grammatically speaking. Dallas Mavericks. I'm from Dallas. Ah, okay, Roy. I love your city. I've been to Dallas. It was about 4 years ago. This was in another life. So I was in the US for a month. I was teaching pole dancing workshops. So before I did languages, I was teaching like pole dance and aerial acrobatics. So I mean, I wasn't doing stripping and stuff, but I will just say very clearly, I have nothing against those things. It's all a part of the culture. It's all fine. So careful with your comments. But yeah, I was teaching like acrobatics and stuff like that. So I did like a tour in America. It was crazy. Um, and yeah, I stopped in Dallas and I was there for a week, I think. I was staying with some people that we met in Dallas, and I went to Denton as well. I think it's called Denton. Dallas is super cool, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a bit nervous about going to Texas because as an English person, I'd never been to America before. So you only have the stereotypes in my mind. I knew it wasn't, like this stereotypical image of Texas cowboys, guns, or whatever. I know that's not real, but I don't know. I was like a bit tense or whatever. Like, oh, I don't know what to expect, and I had such a good time. Such awesome people. So yeah, I love Dallas, man. But the Mavericks winning the finals, hombre, igual ahí, no sé. Yeah, I'm a big Luca fan. and I'm glad he's been giving it to the Clippers, even though I would like to see Kawhi win again. But yeah, okay, yeah, the Nets if they're all healthy. Charlie, I agree with you. I was a little bit gutted. The whole toe on the line, Kevin Durant and that shot with the toe on the line. I wanted to see the Nets, but listen, yeah, the Mavericks are solid, and Luka's a problem. We're one player away. Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Luka's a problem, and he really knows the game. He really knows the game. So if you can find someone that is anyone more competent than Kristaps Porzingis, then it's going to be trouble. But yeah, I'm actually a Nuggets fan. Um, it was super random. I became a Nuggets fan in Spain, weirdly enough. So I was because in the UK, like I say, basketball's not popular. When I went to Spain, you could buy Slam, the magazine, and I'd never seen it before in the UK. I'd never seen it, and so I found this copy of Slam, and it had Carmelo Anthony on the cover, and he had like the I don't know if you remember the original baby blue Nuggets uniform, and I kind of became a fan of the Nuggets completely arbitrarily because I liked Carmelo Anthony, and then Allen Iverson joined a few years later, and so I've just kind of been a Nuggets fan, which has sucked up until recently. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, okay, we got something moving now. I don't see us winning. I think there's more stuff needed there, but yeah, I'm a Denver fan. Not that anyone actually asked, but yeah, yeah, cool. Did we catch up on all of the questions? Oh no. Has learning has learning being able to reach a good level in Spanish taught you about yourself? That's a very cool question. Has it taught me about myself? I think, yeah, I guess probably. It's probably taught me some stuff and reminded me of some stuff. It's shown me. It's yeah, it's taught me or reminded me that a large part of learning anything, but especially languages, is unconscious. And so your role as let's say the conscious agent of this situation is to to do the work, right? To put yourself in the situation where your brain can adapt to whatever the stimulus is that you're trying to get it to adapt to. And I think that sometimes maybe my ego gets in the way a little bit. Like I want to be the person that's I'm learning it, I'm memorizing it, I'm doing all this and that. And I think I've learned that or realize that my brain is a lot more smarter than me. So if I watch the show and just let it happen over me, let it like wash over me rather than trying to like actively grab and force everything into my mind. I don't know why I'm hitting myself. um but yeah, I guess that's not so much about me, is it? I've realized that I'm impatient, but I knew that already. Yeah, Lee, thank you very much for coming, man. I really appreciate you being here and all the support. Thank you very much. But yeah, I've realized that I'm impatient because I want to learn everything. I want it now. I'm looking at all these. I started doing that 30-day Portuguese challenge, and then I was like, oh, how many languages could I learn in this? Suddenly, I'm bloody Xiaomao or something, trying to do all these stupid videos or whatever, and I'm like, no, no, patience, do the work, get it done, take your time, better results. So yeah, the impatience thing has come from that. But I think that I don't know. I guess for me. It's reaffirmed a lot of stuff, right? It's reminded me or reaffirmed a lot of stuff. Things that this might sound a bit cheesy, but like you can do it, right? You can learn these things. You can get stuff done. I don't know. I think before I started learning Spanish, I probably believed that adults didn't really learn languages, and certainly not for fun, for no real reason, not on the internet watching YouTube videos. And I thought the same about, I learned to do a handstand when I was like I don't know, 24. And I thought before that, you really had to be a gymnast to learn to do handstands, do all this stuff, learn to do gymnastic rings or whatever. Learn to do a backflip as an adult, again, stuff that people, I don't know. I think that, again, learning Spanish has kind of shown me that, yeah, put in the work, figure it out, be patient. You can learn stuff. You can get stuff done. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like that's a very good answer to the question that you actually asked, but yeah, the impatience is definitely a thing, and yeah, and stuff. But yeah, that was a legendary performance by KD. That guy is crazy. KD is an absolute joke. I I mean, it's one thing to be that good just in general, right? Just to be as good as KD is in general is ridiculous. That's a joke anyway. But the guy tore his Achilles like how many months ago? And that's how you return? Like he came back and like didn't miss a step, if you'll excuse the inadvertent pun. Mental, absolutely crazy. KD is a pleasure to watch play basketball, but yeah, yeah. It's been a while since I've played basketball, unfortunately, but I really enjoyed the league this year. It was really cool. I really enjoyed the whole vibe, even with all the nonsense going on. It was, yeah, a lot more spread out, a lot more cool stuff going on, and so yeah, um, yeah. I don't know. I mean, so I think I'm caught up on all the questions that you guys have sent. If anyone's listening and you have another question, let me know because I'm here. I've got a bit of time. I've been rambling for quite a long time now. I can't believe you guys have put up with me for an hour and a quarter, and it's not even like you get to listen to other people talk. You've just been listening to me. Yeah, if you have any questions, then let me know. Other parts of my life, things that I was doing. If you're interested in the pole dance and the acrobatics and stuff like that, or the salsa dancing. But yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm back focused on Spanish now. I'm almost definitely going to be going for the C1 exam as long as there's space to do it, and I can afford it or whatever and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm focusing on Spanish. But I'm definitely going to be curious about other languages in the future. I have been itching to learn a little bit of Italian for quite a while now. And yeah, it's likely that next year will in the future will involve some Italian. Um, so yeah, I mean, Spanish is the main language, and I think it's always going to be the main language. Portuguese is a new passion, so that's going to be there, but it's going to be second to Spanish. And then beyond those, I think it's going to be messing around a little bit, just being a bit curious. Yeah, just trying out some different stuff. I'm gonna I'll learn a bit of basic Catalan to try and travel around Catalonia. But and Russian, I'm still doing my Anki cards with Russian, but I'm not doing Russian properly at the moment. And I do want to get back to it. It's a fascinating language. So yeah, as you can see, I've got way too many things in my mind at the moment for the future. So the potential things that are going to be happening, it's all over the place. So I need to organize. I need to prioritize. A Portuguese question. Okay. Qual a sua maior dificuldade em aprender português? Acho que é começando pelo espanhol se sente mais confiante em envolver no português. Então, eu acho que ah, já falar espanhol me ajudou muito, porque no primeiro dia eu podia entender um pouquinho, ou bastante, porque tem tantas palavras que são iguais, não? Mas às vezes é difícil não. Thank you for coming, Roy. Thank you. Nice to see you, man. Sim, às vezes é difícil não misturar tudo, porque o português e o espanhol têm tantas palavras que são similares, não sei, mas é difícil. Na minha cabeça tem uma mistura, às vezes, de palavras e às vezes eu não sei se estou adivinhando, não? Porque tem palavras em espanhol que se pode dizer em português, mas às vezes não. essa palavra não existe. Então, é isso, é desenvolver o conhecimento, não, de o que é o português realmente e separar o português e o espanhol na minha cabeça é difícil. Então, acho que ajudou muito, acho que ahm, aprender ah, sem nada, sem saber o espanhol, ah, eu demoraria muito mais, não? Mas sim, ajuda, mas tem seus problemas também. E desculpa o português ruim que não tenho falado nos dias. Um, yeah. Yeah, learning Portuguese when you already know Spanish is a huge help because there's just so much that crosses over. But there are things that make it difficult as well. There, you start to mix it up and is it pai? Is it padre? Is it tambien? Is it também? Mesmo, mismo. Yeah. Tenho problemas. Tem problemas. But yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I would certainly say that it's a huge help having learned Spanish first, or learn a bit of Spanish, and then learning Portuguese. And I'm hoping that if I can get round to learning some Italian in the future, that will also apply. Um, yeah. Do we have any guys here, any people here, sorry, learning Portuguese, or is everyone listening learning Spanish? Because most of these questions have been about or in Spanish, but I'm just wondering if there's people listening that are interested in Portuguese as well. Just interested, yeah. So yeah, like I said, I mean, if any of you guys do have any final questions, we'll probably start wrapping up fairly soon. I've got time, but obviously, if you guys don't have any other kind of questions or anything you want to ask, I don't have too much more to say. Like I say, I updated you on my plans and things like that. Told you about some of the new collaborations we've got going on, or that will be coming up in the near future. So that's good. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So any questions? This is your final call for questions. You speak so well Portuguese. Oh, I don't know about so well. Obrigado, mas não sei. Eu acho que consigo me comunicar, né? Mas falar bem eu acho outra coisa, né? Eu sim. But yeah, I think again, from knowing some Spanish, I was able to get away with speaking okay Portuguese from the get go. And then yeah, it's just about trying to adjust to the sounds and different things. But over those 30 days, again, I don't know if any of you maybe haven't seen that video. I did a video of I spoke Portuguese every day for 30 days, and over that 30 days, I did a lot of immersion as well, about 90 hours, or 88 hours or something in those 90 days. Sorry, in those 30 days. And so, yeah, I think that really helped that kind of intense period. I quite like the whole language challenge thing. I think it's good. Not like if it's like 7 days or 24 hours or something like that, it's not necessarily that useful. But I think that, 30 days to kind of get the ball rolling, to get a bit of momentum and stuff, I think like that was cool. I think in the future, for example, if I decided to do Italian, I would probably do something similar to that. Not to try and learn Italian in 30 days by no means, but to use like a 30-day period as like this big intensive push to get the ball rolling and yeah. Actually, there's something I forgot to ask as well. I asked about, if there was guys that you would like to, sorry, people that you would like to see me collaborate with, like Spanish learners or Spanish teachers. But I'd also like to do some videos with other like content creators and things like that, like the Luca Lampriellos, the Ollie Richards, the Steve Kaufmans, things like that. If there's other people like that, like polyglots and things like that, that maybe you think would be interesting, yeah, let me know. I've got my list of my favorites and things, but I've got quite a few cool recommendations from you guys today for for films, for music, for channels. So yeah, I'm sure there's lots of stuff I haven't come across. So yeah, maybe I should collab with some people in Portuguese. Should I do? Do you guys want to see a video with Navaibe? Should I do a video? Maybe see if I can get in contact with Virginia from Speaking Brazilian, or I don't know, some Portuguese content creators. Maybe that would be interesting for you guys. Um, Charlie, thanks for doing this, Shane. You're more than welcome, Charlie. Thanks for being here, man. It's cool. Um, I wanted to ask you about writing and how often you practice it for Spanish. Dude, I think writing is awesome, and I haven't practiced it nearly enough. Basically, I've done some writing in Spanish, but just when I've just randomly had inspiration. So like I wrote, what did I write? I wrote a review on a book that I read. I wrote a fake story about my great grandfather because he fought in World War II. He was a paratrooper in World War II. So I wrote this like fake mini story about him doing stuff in World War II. I just wrote anyway. I've just written random stuff, but I think it's really, really good. I think it's a really good tool because like it gives you time to really formulate your thoughts, and I was able to utilize a lot more structures and words and different things like that in my writing. And loads of those words I can still picture now. I can still remember them, and I can use them actively, because I think in general, when you use a word, you're able to remember it a lot better if you can use it in a real meaningful situation. And so writing kind of gave me that opportunity, because with speaking, you don't necessarily have those opportunities to use different fancy words or different structures or different things, or maybe you just forget, right? And so I now am starting to write. My goal is to write something every week. And I would like to continue with that, not just because I'm going to have to do writing for the exam, but also because I think that writing is really beneficial for my Spanish. So I think it's great. I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I don't necessarily think it matters too much what you write about, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, a diary, whatever it is. And then I would just like book an italki class or speak to a native speaker and have them just correct it if you have that opportunity. Or there's also things like you could use Hello Talk, for example, or if you guys know the channel, a guy called Robin McPherson, he has a website. I think it's called Journally. I think I've only used it once and I forgot about it, but yeah, he has and you can use that to practice your writing, and other native speakers of different languages will correct you and leave notes, and you can do the same for your native language. So writing is awesome. Definitely do writing. Do it on Journally if you like, or just do it at home on your laptop or on your phone or whatever. But yeah, I think it's useful, and I think it is a much better way of actively including more words, more vocabulary. So yeah, write more in Spanish. That's good. Learning Spanish, but I want to learn some Urdu, as many of my students' first language is Urdu, but it looks hard to learn. Wow. That sounds fascinating, Marky. I know very little about Urdu. Yeah, I don't really know much about the language, so I wouldn't be able to tell you in terms of difficulty. But I know that it's very different to English. So for English speakers, if you don't know another language that's similar, I'm sure it will be a challenge. But listen, I think at the end of the day, I think it's important to remember that if a language exists, it because it works, right? It's because it works well enough. If people can learn it and speak it, and it can spread throughout communities, and people that don't even necessarily go to schools and stuff like that still learn to communicate more or less, it's because the language to some extent makes sense, right? So I think it's important to keep that in mind, with when we start to think about difficulties of language, where Spanish is a bit easier than Russian, which is a bit easier than Urdu, which is a bit easier than Mandarin, or blah, blah, blah. You know, these things are real, right? Languages have different difficulties, but at the end of the day, they make sense in some way. They have patterns and things that, hold them together. So, if you're willing to put in the time and expose yourself to the language and things, and, be patient, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to learn some Urdu. And I think that would be an awesome thing to do because, yeah, I don't think many people learn Urdu, right? I haven't met anyone personally, at least, that's learning Urdu or online, but that would be cool. Yeah. Oh, we got another question. Random question. Cool. Non-immersion based. Even better. If you wanted to learn a bit of a new language for a holiday, how would you do it? Let's say you have 2 to 4 weeks and an hour a day. Wow, that's a very good question. Um, well, I think I would have to trial a few things, but I think that immersion, like pure immersion from like day one, is not necessarily going to be your best bet, right? If you've got like 2 to 4 weeks, because it's not a huge amount of time, especially if we say like 2 weeks, especially. Um, I think that I think, to be completely honest, I would jump on italki. I would have italki as uh my main thing, or well, not necessarily italki. And just to be clear, I'm not like sponsored by italki or anything. I don't get any money for mentioning them. I do have a link, like everyone that has a profile. But anyway, um, I think I would speak. I would find native speakers, people that would be willing to help me out, and I would think specifically about what I was going to be doing in that country, where I was going. Are you going to a country where you want to, learn about the coffee, or I don't know, go to lots of restaurants, or are you going to be going to museums, or are you, I don't know. And I would literally just write out a load of phrases in English and work my way through them and try and find a way to yeah, sorry, so like work through them with a teacher or something, like have them tell you, okay, so this is how you say this is how you say this. Maybe you can do like small like role plays or something, like pretend you're, I don't know, booking a table at a restaurant or whatever it is that you're planning on doing. I would go straight for exactly what it is that you're going to be doing, because if you don't have a lot of time, then you need to focus on what's more important. And if it's a language that you're not actually necessarily going to continue to learn in the future, then again, I would say, it doesn't necessarily make sense to expose yourself to the whole language, trying to learn as much as possible. I don't think that's a bad way to think about it, to learn as much as possible. But I think that's what I would do. That's my current plan for things like Catalan, for example, where I would be traveling to Spain, going to Catalonia. I would like to be able to, speak a little bit of Catalan, just to be at least polite. Um, but I'm not going to be learning Catalan properly, probably, at least realistically. And so that's going to be my plan, is going to be, start with the fundamentals, I, you, he, she, whatever. Learn the most common verbs, probably. I'd say like 20 verbs, and then just like write out these sentences or these phrases, these things that you want specifically, and learn those. I mean, of course, you could just go through. You could use like DeepL, for example, the translator. I wouldn't advise Google Translate. I think DeepL is better, and you could just do it through that. But of course, you might get some weird translations or little things. That's what I would do personally. That's not to say that it's the best way to do it, because I haven't trialed this specifically. But for example, with Portuguese, of course, it's different because I already knew Spanish. But getting in and speaking often made the whole world of a whole world of the difference, because yeah, a whole world of difference. Because I was going straight for the things that were important to me. I was talking about things that are relevant to me or were going to be relevant to me. So I think if you've got a short time frame, then the speak straight away idea, more or less, is what you're going to want to go for, in my opinion. So yeah, um, and yeah, an hour a day, of course. I think that's plenty. Paul Simon, why did you choose to learn Spanish? Um, it was a little bit random, to be honest. But I guess it's because I've been to Spain. I have some sort of an attachment to Spain. When I was younger, my mum would take me there on holiday. That's where we would go on holiday. And so, I liked Spain, and the little bit about Spanish culture that I knew. But I guess it's just, I don't know. It's just, I guess it was like, be cool to speak Spanish. And so I just started learning or whatever. I think, for me, French, I don't dislike French, but it's not of that much interest to me, currently, at least. So I was thinking about learning a language. I guess I had more time, and Spanish was the more obvious choice for me because that was the one I was more interested in. I was going to have more use for it. I could put it into real practical use because I very much planning on going back out to Spain. So yeah, and the more that I've learned, especially once I chose to focus on European Spanish, the more that I've just realized that I don't actually know that much about Spain's history and culture and so many things for a country that's so close to us in the UK. And so I've just kind of got more and more engrossed in the history and in the culture and the people, the I don't know, all kinds of different stuff. So yeah, Spanish has a very special place in my heart now somehow. But there was no real good clear reason for like Spanish. It wasn't like, oh, I need it or I want it for this. It just, I don't know, it's something that I'd always kind of wanted to do. Actually, my Facebook memories showed me not long ago, I think it was 8 years ago, that I'd put a status on Facebook saying, can anyone teach me Spanish? Because I was doing personal training at the time. I was offering like personal training for Spanish lessons. I never ended up doing anything about it at that time. So it's something that I wanted to do like years ago. I've wanted to do for a long time. But yeah, didn't get round to. And then I don't know, I just had a bit of extra time, I guess. Yeah. So interesting response. Shaman was recently made a video about how to best obtain functional fluency and basically said the same as you. Ah, okay. I've seen. I'm not subscribed to him, but YouTube still actually shows me his video. Let me just say, I'm not. I don't like dislike him. I'm not like a hater or anything. I just think some of the videos he does are a bit like, "Meh, you could title that better, right?" Anyway, um, yeah, so I guess this is the video because I've seen he did something like how I learned 15 languages in a year or something like that. I haven't watched it yet, but I guess that's what the video that you're talking about. That's interesting. I mean, listen, I mean that's that's kind of what I'm talking about though, because he's clear on what he wants, right? He's not trying to learn whatever language it is to be professional in it. He wants to go engage with a couple of the locals, make his YouTube video, and move on. So, listen, I guess if that's your goal, then fair enough. And he's getting in, focusing on the stuff that's relevant for him, I guess. And then, yeah, I don't know the specifics. I don't know if he uses any particular apps or whatever or different stuff, but yeah, learn basic phrases and have a simple italki conversation. Yeah, I really do think that it's a great way to get started. I think generally, not that anyone asked, but I think that actually a blend of the speak early and the immersion thing is like the best thing, because I think that Lamont from Days of French and Swedish made a really interesting video about um how language learning isn't like learning other things and different stuff like that. But he starts to talk about how he used to like speaking early, and he thinks like he got a lot of progress out of that, and now he feels like he hit a wall and actually he should have just been immersing in different stuff. I kind of feel like it's both, right? Like I feel like you should start speaking relatively early because you can make a lot of progress. You can get into the language, so to speak, and start using it, get a bit of a connection with it. But your ultimate long-term success is absolutely going to depend on your input and your immersion, stuff like that. Because the one thing that I do disagree with from the input world, and it's not like I've got a reason to disagree with it, because I can't present you with science that says that what I'm saying is true and what they're saying is not. But I really disagree with the idea that speaking early is bad because you're going to make lots of bad habits and you won't be able to get rid of those bad habits. I can't square myself with that way of thinking. I can't understand why that would be. I mean, you know, eh, kids growing up make tons of mistakes. They say random things that they certainly haven't heard other adults say, but they make it up and we correct them and they end up speaking like normal humans, more or less. And in learning anything, it doesn't matter. And again, language learning isn't necessarily like learning other skills that I have more experience with. But I think when you're learning anything, the mistakes are not only a normal part of the process, but they're a fundamentally necessary part of the process. Through mistakes is how you make progress. So I don't know if I agree with that idea of speaking early can ruin stuff for you and create bad habits. But again, that's an opinion based on basically my feelings, because I don't have science for that and stuff. But yeah. Um, yeah, I think speaking is best if you're not introverted. Yeah, no, that's very true. Yeah, if you're an introvert, immersing by yourself is fine, but most people don't have the motivation to not use the language for 2 years. So I couldn't agree with you more. That is exactly what I said when I did my interview with Word of Shane. I guess that was nearly a year ago. Yeah, that's I couldn't do that. Like immerse in any language for 2 years and not speak it, because I would just get bored and frustrated. But that's me. That's not for everyone. So as you rightly say, the speak early thing is, it favors people that are more extroverted, are a little bit more comfortable with that kind of thing. And if you're an introvert, then yeah, it's not going to be so fun for you, maybe. Um, so yeah, that's very true. Yeah, you have to think about the type of person you are as well. That's very important in learning a language. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. Well, I might watch that Shaomal video and just see what he says then. If you said it was fairly similar to what I ended up saying anyway. Like I say, I'm absolutely not a hater. There's a good amount of his videos that I've watched and enjoyed, but there's some that I just, especially with the titles and, because he's done Spanish videos, I can judge the level of Spanish a bit more. And suddenly he's like, oh, I learned fluent Spanish in 72 hours. And you kind of go, nope, you did not. But it doesn't matter. It's just YouTube. It doesn't matter. Don't get too overworked. Don't get worked up about it. Yeah, so cool. We're closing in on an hour and 3/4, nearly 2 hours. So yeah, guys, final questions. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But I feel like I'm probably going to start boring people and answering the same questions over. If not, so yeah, if you've got anything else to ask, please let me know. It doesn't have to be language related. I'm very happy to answer personal questions, as it were. But I'm also aware that I've been sat here rambling about whatever nonsense for an hour and 40 minutes, and you might just want me to leave. So, yeah. But for all of you that are still here and all of you that have been here, thank you guys so much for coming. It's so awesome. What do you do outside of languages? So, admittedly, currently, not a whole lot, I guess, but my main activities outside of languages are music. So, piano, making beats, I would call them beats loosely, and that kind of stuff. Calisthenics as well. I'm still, even though I'm not doing the acrobatics and things like that at the moment, I still try and keep in shape. And before I did pole and the acrobatics and stuff like that, I did calisthenics. I used to teach calisthenics workshops in different CrossFit gyms around the UK and stuff like that. And so I've moved it out of the way, but I actually have a pull-up bar here in the house. So we do some calisthenics and stuff like that. Music, starting to cook a little bit more actually, and some baking. Made some awesome cookies yesterday, so that was cool. Yeah, what else do I do? Maybe not so much. I'm a big on series and movies. I love watching series and movies in general, not just in Spanish. Yeah, I mean, salsa and pole and the acrobatics will be happening when things are a bit more normal again, but they're all kind of close contact things that are a little bit harder to do right now with the current situation. So yeah, I would say on a day-to-day basis, I spend a lot of time on languages, but yeah, I play the piano, I dance, I watch movies, I do calisthenics. Yeah, and I would like to get back into, we talked a bit about basketball earlier. I'd like to play a bit of basketball again, but I'm actually hoping to start skating again. Not necessarily skating at the skate park, because well, I'm 30. I'm not old, but I'm not young. I don't necessarily know how well that'll go, but I would like to get some skates just for getting around in general. So I'd like to get back into skating, and I'll probably go down to the skate park and hop around and things. I might just be a little bit more careful because, yeah, I bounced better when I was 14 or 15. You just hit the floor, you bounce off. Nowadays, I hit the floor and bounce less, let's say. So yeah, that's what I do outside of languages. Yeah. What do you guys do outside of languages? I've talked about a few random things: calisthenics, basketball, pole dancing, acrobatics. Any of you guys share any of these interests or have any other things? I also taught myself to juggle recently. I taught myself to juggle three balls. Um, and I thought that, once you learn three, then you would just add a ball, right? And you do four, and I don't know, you just keep adding balls. Turns out juggling four balls is a whole different ball game. Again, in intentional pun. But yeah, I've been doing a bit of juggling as well, little bit recently. So yeah. That's what I do outside of languages, and then chill out, sleep, and do nothing. Plan YouTube videos. Oh, my podcast, of course. My podcast for English learners, Unlocking British English Podcast. That I do 3 episodes a week, and I do transcripts for all of the episodes. So that takes up a decent amount of my time. But I guess that's work related and still to do with languages. So technically, doesn't answer your question. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, if you weren't aware of the updates, we've got more collaborations coming. Spanish with Vicente is coming on. RKL Lucia is coming on. I'm also hoping to do a podcast with Seabolt Speaks. He messaged me a little while ago saying that he'd like to do a podcast, so it'll be pretty cool to chat to him as well. How old are you? I'm 30. 30. I was 30 in May. So yeah, I'm not old, but I'm also not young anymore. It's a weird time. I'm not gonna lie. Turning 30 was actually a lot more fun than I thought it was gonna be. Like when I was a teenager, the idea of turning 30 was like kill me, right? No, no, I want to be 30. Oh, just give me my wheelchair or my walking stick. But actually being 30 now, I don't know, man. I think that being 30 is what I feel like being 20 was gonna be like. Because when I turned like 2021, I felt like, "Oh, okay, now I'm an adult. Now I know what I wanna do. Now I know a bit more about, my goals, different stuff, whatever, I'm clear." That wasn't true. My 20s were a mess like everyone else's, or like most people's, my apologies. But yeah, like turning 30, I don't know, like I feel like yeah, I feel good, man. I feel good about a lot of stuff. I don't, like I say, I'm not calling myself old or anything like that, but I don't feel stiff and tired all the time or whatever, and blah blah blah. Anyway, I thought you were in your early 20s. Dang, you look 19. You two are my favorite people. Thank you. I'll keep that. I'll take that. Yeah, I've always had a bit of a younger face, which sucked when I was younger, like when I was a teenager, right? Like because when I was 15, I looked like 12 or 11, which isn't great. So, but yeah, now it's like it's awesome. Apart from getting ID'd, like I still get ID'd sometimes, and I'm like, oh, really? Like I turned 30 a month ago, and now I have to show you my bloody license. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm 30, so yeah, my girlfriend will be turning 30 also in October. So we are the same age or the same school year, more or less. So yeah. But thank you. I'm glad to know that I'm still maintaining a little bit of the youthfulness. So yeah, yeah. Wow. Thank you guys so much. Cool. I think I've covered a lot of stuff. We're nearing in on 2 hours anyway, so yeah, I think I'm probably gonna save. Sorry, stop this live stream in a second. I will save it so you guys. Hopefully, I'll save it so you guys can watch it. We had a little bit of technical difficulties starting this off because this is my first live stream, and I'm a total rookie. But yeah, before I go, guys, would you like me to do more live streams in the future? I really didn't know how this was going to go, so I just kind of thought I'll jump on and see what happens. I've really enjoyed being on here chatting with you guys. It's been really cool. So if you're here and you're enjoying the live stream, you'd like to see more live streams. Not I don't want to do them all the time, right? But maybe semi regularly. Let me know, please. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, because otherwise, I'll leave it for a while. Maybe we'll do them once in a blue moon, let's say. But yeah. So yeah, let me know if you're interested. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes just to yeah, answer and give me final questions and things because I also don't know how much the lag is from my speaking and what you hear, and then when I see the comments. So, but yeah, so many of you guys asking questions. So many of you guys have been here during. It's really cool to see. So. Thank you guys so much. It feels really awesome. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. So yeah, thank you again. And yeah, stop rambling, Shane. Let's get on with it. So thanks for coming, and see you again in the next one, apparently. Take care.